right, Peter Brusso here. We had a great podcast this week. We talked a lot about encryption and how that affects even America's sales of phone devices, et cetera, like that. We went back in the drone industry to see where it's going. Incredible stuff. And then Frank did something about a big flood in San Antonio, Texas. So let's get it started. Hi, I'm Peter Brusso for 101 Small Business Mastermind. We haven't been on the air for 2 weeks, so I'm a little rusty on this. Give me a break. Give me a little past that. Say good morning, Dick.
Good morning, Dick.
Dick is broadcasting from his favorite clandestine position in Palm. And say good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Dick.
All right, let's get started. I want to share with everybody some more drone stuff. Now, I got to do this and this. You guys let me know if it doesn't work, as usual, right? Okay, here we go. Can you see and hear that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all I think about during the days pretty much. I'm always doing something probably related to FPV, either looking up a cool video on YouTube or checking on all the groups on Facebook and seeing what's going on in the community. So FPV stands for first person view. It uses a camera mounted on the front of the quad to send a signal back to a pair of goggles that you use to fly the quadcopter. It's really freeing, being able to zoom next to trees and go through gates, and it gives you this buzz, this adrenaline rush. You can't beat it.
I feel like we are at the beginning of something big. You know, I feel like I'm 15 all over again.
Being a Star Wars fan, it looked so good. It looked like pod racing. We want to make this a viable competition. A year from now, it could rival the X Games. It could rival what we have seen skateboarding and surfing do.
So there's going to be 4 of us racing. Winner moves on to the next round, so we'll see how far I go.
And this is lap 3, guys.
It's helped me overcome a lot of mental hurdles. A couple years ago, I got a really rare autoimmune disease called Goodpasture syndrome. What happened, my immune system decided to attack my lungs and kidneys. Long story short, spent about 6 months in the ICU. Blessed to have made it through, truly blessed. But it's been a tough road getting back on my feet. I don't have a lot of stamina, but this is like giving me something that I really want to push for. The last few months that I've started flying FPV, I can honestly say my physical condition has been really improving.
All right, 3.
The sport is growing so rapidly that there is money coming out of everywhere, and we are seeing cash prizes ranging from $5,000 to $100,000 for the purse.
One flag.
One of the technological advancements that these quadcopters received was having affordable, high-powered first-person view video transmitters. It's as if you were piloting this aircraft sitting inside that quadcopter by yourself.
This is the brain of the guy. And got to be a pretty decent solderer to be able to solder onto this thing. I've been trying to get about 40 to 50 flights a weekend, practicing for the finals. I'll be flying against Charpu, some pretty big names from YouTube, some popular guys, some really good pilots. I have to say I'm a little intimidated to go up against Charpu.
Well, my name is Carlos Puertolas, but online and on the drone community. My nickname is Charpu.
Charpu is close to a god of FPV, I think, as you can get.
My most popular videos are all on like abandoned places. I went to Spain, and that's probably my video that have the most views is abandoned hospital in Spain. There was a construction that was going on, so that was like a paradise for FPV flying.
Telemetry recovered.
And now it's not arming anymore. I come back from a background of, extreme sports. I love skateboarding, inline skating, snowboarding, all of that kind of stuff. So this is kind of like an outlet for the same kind of adrenaline, but without hurting yourself. This is like, I'm getting noise even when I'm low throttle. It doesn't change. Love the idea of meeting up late at night and bring out your quadcopters or drones and racing them, in a way it just feels like Fight Club.
Look at all that technology.
We're here at the IRDA California Cup Finals. Just prepping over the quad, making sure we're ready to go racing. Charpu right behind me. We'll see how he does.
Racers, we are going racing in 3, 2, 1.
It's hard to tell what's going on when you're racing. Because you might see somebody in front of you, but you don't know who it is. It's impossible.
I ended up hitting the wall. It was a fun time though. Ended up coming in 4th in the finals, but really excited. I made it all the way to the finals. Raced against some really awesome pilots, Charpu being one of them. It was a blast. Such a rush with all the cameras and pressure, and it's a good time.
I didn't do too bad. I finished second on one of the 3S races. It's fun. It's kind of like we all land and we look at each other like, what happened?
My recovery has almost been exponential since starting FPV. I finally found a calling where I can kind of excel in, and I can totally see myself racing these things for years and years to come.
Now that was from New York Times. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. The fantastic thing to look at that is the disabled, right? Getting into a sport and actually flying, in a first-person view, which they've never been able to do, right?
Right.
They'll never be a pilot of an airplane. That's really cool. Plus, you see how it was almost a Fight Club quality, and it was starting out there and then ended up. Now look where it's going. We won't watch this.
Welcome, everybody, to the 2015 Fatshark U.S. National Drone Racing Championships.
FPV is first-person view, and so FPV racing is the first kind of drone racing or drone sport where it's remotely controlled and remotely manned and remotely driven through human vision. When I put on my first set of FPV goggles and flew around, that was a black hole, and I'm still in that black hole, and it's probably not going to come out.
This is those airframes. So especially we have 10 of them, we lay them out. Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4, here's 5. We've got 10 cameras. We got 10 power distribution boards. We got a pile of motors. We got a pile of speed controls. We came to race.
I wanted to get everybody in the room together that was serious about doing some, FPV racing or drone racing. And I said, hey, look, we have a chance here to do something on public scale. Let's put our best foot forward.
I'm trying not to take it seriously because, look, we're just a bunch of nerds with toys at the moment. That's really all we are. We're all sitting there. Oh, look at that. The sponsor team shirts. We're just a bunch of nerds. That's all we are.
I love coming out to this. This is so much fun. There's so many cool people. 6 months ago, there weren't any kind of races. There really weren't events like this. There was no talks about events like this. It was kind of a dream people thought might happen in a year or two, not this year.
I called as many people as I could all over the world, you know, say, hey, come to this event, come to this event, and come to this event. And so it was like a YouTube meetup of everybody that was, you know, anybody who had a great YouTube video was there at the show. Brian actually, maybe a week or two before, actually won the 3D competition, the Cup 2015. And Chad is probably the best person that could be the ambassador for the sport. Yes, he's humble, but he's probably one of the few guys out there with full competition experience.
When you're online, you can be a completely different person, and I've been pleasantly surprised with all of the guys that I've really wanted to meet. They're just like me, just another bloke that stumbled across this thing called FPV and quadcopters.
He said bloke. Can you teach me some more words?
Aussie.
I know. I like it.
Hey, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Good.
First time I saw Zoe, she walked out on a field up in Santa Cruz. She schooled every single guy there and came in first place. She's spectacular because she's got several hurdles to jump through even before she can just get up to being a racer.
I was bedridden for a long time, like from pain and just not really being able to be active. And then I found FPV as a way to get back into the world and kind of enjoy myself again. Like physically, it's still hard for me to do stuff. Like right now, I'm actually in a good bit of pain. I'm just grinning and bearing it because this is what I love to do, and it's kind of what I live for.
What I see is that the type of individual that's coming in here is similar to like the Ironman triathlons or marathons, where there's a lot of camaraderie and everybody really likes each other because there's just a common bond that everybody has. But this is the first time we've had $25,000 on the line, and you know, when the goggles on, competition's fierce. Day one mornings, they're always, you know, you got a blazing forest fire and you only have 20 guys to cover, you know, 500 square miles.
None of my lap times got reported yesterday. I flew 8 laps, and on the website it shows I did not finish. They'll get it figured out. I mean, I know they'll put it out like a giant press release after this, like, yeah, we knew it was rough, we knew it was the first one, but it was still meh.
All right, all 3 racers, you guys got your quads out, ready to go. Video, let's roll. Okay, guys, I should have 4 quads coming over here. Let's go. All right, boys. You guys are the slowest group of the morning. I am not impressed.
All of the world was looking at us, and everybody was expecting us to be online and professional. And so when I saw that the external world was going, you know, oh my God, it's out of focus, and stop breathing so heavy, and this and that, and you know, I could just see all that stuff coming. I'm like, okay, just stop breathing so heavy, you know? Okay, focus the camera. And so we started fixing all that, and then about 12 to 1 o'clock, it switched. It switched from the trash talking about us to the trash talking about the pilots. And that's when our personality and our true culture of us as an FPV racing at scale, that's the first time I saw it. And that was very exciting.
Okay, guys, I need you out, pilots. Let's go.
See, I missed a break and I can't finish.
Strive to be the lightest.
You did it.
Nice job, B. Good job. Put 5 laps in. That's what we needed. So now the pressure's over. We got another round. You can push it, you know, because of safety. This is at least got a time up there. So
All right, so Mr. Steele's aircraft is on the tarmac. I feel like 99% of the time as a parent, if you name your kid Steele, it just ends up not working out. And then 1% of the time, he becomes the best FPV pilot in the world.
Mr. Steele's, we're going to need characters like that. It's the egos that we're going to see that are going to be really quite exciting.
I'll go first.
Let's Steele go first. It's not fair. You're down in the good channel, Steele. You're a cheater.
We are watching Final Glide UAS, Final Glide Australian. This is, oh my, look at this.
Everyone else is going, dude.
Look at this, I got Breaker with me in the booth. We had him an extraordinary run.
We had him in the booth here earlier, and he was determined to get a sub 18-second lap, and my God.
The lead, I won 18 seconds.
This is where here he comes into the gate. Here he comes into the gate. Boom, he's through the gate.
comfy now. I reckon that's a pretty damn fast lap.
Final lap.
Finished? Yes. Holy shit.
Oh yeah.
Should I be happy right about now? Hey, Steele! Hey, Steele, can I race with you more often?
Last race, about to throw it down, so it's all or nothing right now.
Well, you guys get the idea. Isn't that crazy?
That's impressive. That is. What is one of those units with the camera and the head goggles? Have any idea what those cost?
I don't know about those, but we've seen them everywhere from $200. Those are obviously not $200 up to $2,500. So, those are probably up in that range, but all the technology, all the controls, all the channels, all the internet tied into it, all the organization, that's going to go someplace. And think this out, Frank. Not only are these drones, you can see handicapped drone races for handicapped people in wheelchairs, right?
Yeah.
You can see sailboat races. They don't have a drone sailboat that I know of yet, but you can see all of our sports literally mimicked in these drones in this first-person view aspect.
FPV, yeah.
Yeah, SPV, exactly. So
I was impressed. Very.
Well,
and it happened so quickly.
Yes, and it's hardly even got started. Their first there in Australia was 25,000. Remember a few podcasts back, the Dubai one was 1 million.
Yeah. And just this past week, or maybe it was last week, the FAA approved drone flying over residential areas to pave the way for drone deliveries.
Yes, and other things too. So, when you look at the invention stream that's going to go on in the drone world, the technology, the miniaturization still, a longer battery life, that's going to help computers or vice versa, right? A massive amount of communication technology involved with that, being able to do the disabled, right? And then you look at any small patch of land from a soccer park that isn't used can be turned into a drone course and make revenue for the landowner. The parking lots that are closed at night, you saw several of those as well. These fight clubs coming together and getting permission or paying a small fee to get in there to fly. Far better than gang banging, huh?
Yeah. It's impressive, and it's fascinating.
It certainly is. I just see. We were focused on just the technology of drones a while back. Now we're in the business of drones.
Well, was it 2 years ago? Maybe 2 years ago, when Bezos was interviewed on 60 Minutes talking about drone delivery, and everybody scoffed at that.
Yep.
Everybody scoffed at that.
You had this amazing commercial on 60 Minutes last year at this time about this fantastic future when drones are going to fly out and bring me my package and it's going to be right there. And immediately, everybody in the country and probably around the world was saying, great, when?
Yeah.
When?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer. Technology is not going to be the long pole. The long pole is going to be regulatory. And in fact, I just went and met with the Prime Air team and saw like the 10th or 11th generation of drone. I can't remember, flying around in the cage. And it's truly remarkable. A lot of this is it's not just the physical airframe and electric motors and so on and so on. The most interesting part of this is the autopilot and the guidance and control and the machine vision systems that make it all work. But the long pole in this tent is going to be regulatory, and that is very difficult to predict. I bet you the Prime Air team, the ratio of lawyers to engineers on the Prime Air team is probably the highest at Amazon.
Is this a situation where everyone else in the world except Americans is going to get drone deliveries?
I think it is sad but possible that the U.S. could be late. It's highly likely that other countries will do it first. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. I may be too skeptical. I hope I'm wrong.
And that was maybe 2 years ago. Now look at us.
I I do have the picture of they have a Wi-Fi gun that can shoot down drones electronically. Yeah, I was going to have it last week or when we did it last, but they got overcome by fence. But, you know, the cops have to have some kind of technology to bring drones down, as well as the Secret Service. You know, and
those cameras could carry, instead of a camera, could carry a camera and a bomb.
Sure. Oh yeah, no question.
Right?
Or probably more likely biologicals.
Yeah, even worse.
Yeah.
Just spread them in the air and let them drop and take off.
Police in the country's biggest city warn of a potential terror threat. People notice. But we were surprised to learn just how far along New York police are in planning a response to a security risk from drones. Jeff Pegues shows us how officers are setting their sights on the sky. Jeff, good morning.
Good morning. We've learned that the NYPD is actively looking for ways to stop an attack by a drone. For the last year, the country's largest police force has been increasingly concerned about a potential terror attack from the air by a drone armed with a deadly weapon.
We look at it as something that could be a terrorist tool.
Deputy Chief Salvatore DePace is one of the NYPD's top counterterrorism officials. For the first time, he is publicly acknowledging why the NYPD is paying close attention to America's fascination with drones and the potential that they could deliver a terrorist attack. Chemical weapons?
If the technology is there, which we're thinking it is.
Guns?
Guns, definitely. We've seen that. We've seen some paintball video where the drone was flying at different targets along the route and very accurately hitting the targets with the paintball.
But the NYPD sees a drone carrying explosives as the #1 threat. And this video was a wake-up call. Last year in Germany, a drone was hovering over a crowd of people just as German Chancellor Angela Merkel delivered a speech. It flew toward the podium and landed right in front of her. She was smiling, but law enforcement across the globe was not. What is it about that video that concerns you the most?
If you really think about what could have happened there, that drone hit its target right on the mark and could have took the Chancellor and her people out.
His concern has only been heightened by a dramatic increase in the number of drone incidents in New York City, over 40 in the last year.
Definitely a drone. He's going up the streets now between buildings.
And in some cases, unmanned aircraft systems, or drones, are either intentionally or unintentionally being flown into the airspace of NYPD helicopters. We were invited to fly with members of the NYPD Aviation Unit. They took us to a location in Brooklyn where just this past summer, one of their helicopters nearly collided with a drone. They say it was about 800 feet off the ground. Officer Daryl Maudsley and Sergeant Antonio Hernandez saw it coming right at them.
We're flying in the dark. We have night vision goggles on. We're trying to get a job done. And the next thing you know, we see this drone come up to our altitude.
But you don't know what the drone is capable of.
You don't know what the intentions are. Hostile, recreational. There's a lot of different ways you can go with that.
Quite literally, the sky is the limit for people intent on doing harm. At least that's how police see it. Deputy Inspector Jimmy Cohn is the head of the NYPD's Aviation Unit.
Drones are out there flying around. People think that they're a toy or a model. They're not. They're another aircraft flying in the national airspace system, and they create a significant safety hazard.
They would like to develop technology that could take control of a drone as well as scan the skies over major events.
We just got to modify the technology to put a system in place, say at Yankee Stadium or Citi Field or the USTA, where we can monitor the airspace and see if something enters that space that shouldn't be there.
But that's on the horizon. For now, the department is monitoring potential threats.
This, my friends, is a prototype quad rotor.
We were told that this video is perhaps the most vivid example of what drones could do. While it looks like it's real, it's actually a viral marketing campaign for a video game. But as far as the NYPD is concerned, this isn't a game.
We looked at some people that have jerry-rigged these drones to carry guns, to carry different types of explosives if they wanted to. There's just so many possibilities that we're very worried about.
The NYPD is consulting with the military and has members of its counterterrorism, bomb squad, emergency services, and aviation units working on a plan to counter weaponized drones.
Yeah. Well, when 9/11 came, they were, Brad up here, the helicopter, they went and closed every crop duster down and inspected their facilities and got them all licensed as anti-terrorism. And, so they have to be watched completely. But yeah, so the smaller payloads will still probably be the more likelier candidate, I would think. But you could easily have a Wi-Fi net that any drone gets close and it just falls out of the sky. You can beam this stuff out. So interesting technology, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I have here. Hang on.
Oh.
Sounds like twin.
Sounds like Pavlov. All right, I get all excited. I salivate. This week's twin. This week in the news. People that are making headlines. Okay, small business lessons. Today's twin is, hey, John Mackey. Thank you for the small business lesson. Now, Dick knows John Mackey.
Yeah, he's a football player.
There you go. But this is the other
Baltimore Colts.
This is the other John Mackey.
Tight end.
Yeah. Okay, and the question is?
Go ahead, Dick.
Who is John Mackey?
I'm glad you asked. John Mackey. He was born in 1953 in Houston, Texas. He attended the University of Texas at Austin and Trinity University, but like everybody I talk about, he never graduated because he only wanted to take the classes he was interested in and not the courses that they said you had to take to get a degree. He said, take your degree and do whatever you want with it. I only want to do what I want to do. Okay. So in 1978, now at 25, John and his girlfriend, they borrowed $10,000 and they raised $35,000 to open their first health food store called Safer Way in Austin, Texas. Good idea. At the time, Austin had several small health food stores, so John did have some competition. And John, as I said, he had $35,000. So what he did, he opened up a store on the first floor of a 3-story building. On the second floor, there was a health food restaurant. And on the third floor, John and his girlfriend lived. So he kind of, he didn't have long to go to work. So he had to climb up, go downstairs. And in 1980, 2 years later, John merged with a competitor called Clarksville Natural Grocery, and they moved to a bigger space. And in fact, the address was 900 block of North Lamar Boulevard in Austin, Texas. So that was in 1980. Less than a year later, Shoal Creek, which was the river next to Austin, overflowed, and over 8 feet of water covered Austin. That's less than a year after he moved and opened his new store. It was Austin's worst flood in 70 years. 6 inches of rain fell in 4 hours. Imagine that rainstorm. Streets became rivers that would carry people and cars right along with them. 13 people died, and the flood caused over $100 million damage. This was in 1981. And the 900 block of North Lamar Boulevard, which is where John's new store was, it was especially ruined. Cars on the lots of 3 auto dealerships were completely submerged. And John's health food store, which was his life, that had just moved 1 year earlier, was a total loss. The water destroyed everything in the store, and John did not have flood insurance because you don't need it until it rains, right? And he had no savings, and everything was lost. He was ready. I don't know what he was going to do.
Yeah, what do you do with that?
Yeah, but then something unexpected happened. The store employees refused to let the store die, and his customers refused to let the store go. They began to show up at that store with mops, buckets, and shovels. And John was amazed as dozens of people kept coming to help every day. Volunteer, okay? And John asked one of the volunteers, why are you people doing this? This is John himself, John Mackey. And the response was, I'm not sure if I would want to live in Austin if this store wasn't here. It has made a huge difference in my life. Wow.
Well,
There was a photograph taken for the newspapers in front of the store 3 days after the flood, and there were more than 50 of the store's employees that were in there and for a group picture. And although they were covered in mud because of the flood, they each had a smile as wide as the river that destroyed, is what the newspaper said. And the employees continued to work for free until John could work out a loan and reopen the store. And looking back on that event, John often asks, how many normal businesses would attract a volunteer army of customers and suppliers to help them in their hour of need? He says, normal companies do not attract love, loyal, or devotion. Unusual companies do. And these companies have an irresistible story to tell. Today, more than 30 years, matter of fact, 35 years after the flood, Safeway Market has grown from that store, one store in Austin, to more than 360 locations in North America and the UK, with over $11 billion in sales every year. Back in 1978, when Safeway merged with Clarksville Natural Grocery Store, they changed the name to Whole Foods.
Oh, really?
And that's how that's how Whole Foods started. It wasn't for those volunteers. Other interesting facts about John Mackey. 2003, he was named E&Y Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year. 2007, he was named one of the 30 CEOs by Barron's Magazine. You know how his employees came to his help and volunteered, all those 50-plus employees? Listen to how John feels about unions. Okay, and I love this. John is known today for his strong anti-union views. Anti-union. And here's his famous quote, which I love. I love this quote. He says, unions are a lot like herpes. It will kill you, but it is very unpleasant and will make a lot of people not want to be your lover.
Yeah.
And in 2008, John combined with Costco and Starbucks to create the Employee Free Choice Act to beat unions. So John is again, obviously he loves his employees because they loved him, but he is anti-union. So the small business lesson out of the story of John Mackey and Whole Foods. How important is your company to the lives of your clients and your employees? Too many companies today are content to just be a transaction. I've made a good sale, I delivered the product or the service, I got paid, I made a profit. Next, right? When what your clients, customers really want, what they really need, and what they're willing to pay more for, is not a transaction. They're looking for a trusted advisor. The three of us and what we're doing today really are trusted advisors. We don't do transactions. We're there to help our clients grow their business, in Dick's case, protect their business, protect their family, protect their legacy, protect their kids, right, with the legal stuff. So the question that small business owners should make, if you are just a transaction, what can you do now to make your business more valuable to your clients? In other words, how can you be their trusted advisor? Gentlemen, that's my for this week.
You know, Frank, that's a great story. As I was listening to it, the question I asked myself was, could that story happen today? 30 years ago, it was a much different world. In today's world, with the unions, with the millennium thinking the world owes them a living, could that happen today? I'm sure it can. I'm sure there's companies out there, but it'll be much harder. Peter and I don't know if you go to Winco, the local grocery store, and it's employee owned. And the difference of walking into Winco and any other grocery store in the valley is striking. You walk into Winco, hello, how are you? Can I help you? But, you ask a question, where's something, and they walk you to it. They just don't point to the aisle. It's just a stark difference. And I think that's because it's employee owned. The employees have a vested interest in making this successful. Whereas Ralph's and all the other ones have unions that, hey, this is what I do. I don't look up and say hello to you when you get in line even. So I was just wondering, in today's environment, how hard would it be to stuff like that done.
The sad thing is, Dick, you're right. It'll be much harder. It may be much more. Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
Isn't that sad?
Right. It's just amazing.
It's again, because you mentioned unions, and I'm kind of on a John Mackey fold. They were talking this morning about the schools in Detroit. How and they're mostly African American families that go to public schools. Kids go to public schools, and the schools are terrible. And they say they want to protect the children. All they have to do is say, open up for charter schools, and let the families send their little kid, little boy and little girl to the best school available, which would be maybe a charter school, and the unions won't let them.
Yeah.
The unions will not let them. You know, so it's really, really sad.
Look at when de Blasio was sworn in as mayor, he went and closed 8 charter schools in Harlem.
Yeah. Well, because the unions, gave him money. But I have a first-hand experience with the union. When I got out of the Navy, I kicked around jobs, and I took a job at Winchester's. I was married then, and my wife was pregnant, and I was running a broach machine that made receivers for the M14 rifles. And the first day of the job, I finished my daily quota in about 3.5 hours, and the union student come up and he said, "If you ever do that again, you're going to get thrown out of here." I said, "Why? What did I do wrong?" He said, "You finished it in half the time. We've got this job timed at 8 hours. You cannot do more broaches than that in 8 hours. Fake it." So fine. So I did that for about 1.5 years. Oil all over me. Just a messy job. And the foreman came up one day and said, "I'm sorry, Dick, but we're having a layoff, and you're the junior guy, the one that I hate to see go most because you do the best work, but the union says I have to lay you off." And I shook his hand and I thanked him. He said, "Why are you thanking me?" I said, "Now you're forcing me to go out and make something of my life, and I'm going to do that." Then I thanked him, went in, washed up, and went home. My wife was about 8 months pregnant, and she said, "What are we going to do?" I said, "I'll find a job. Don't worry about it." But that's my experience with unions, so you know where I stand on unions.
Okay, one more story. Well, since we're talking about unions, it was 1972, 44 years ago. I'm a junior programmer for a major department store chain here based in Massachusetts, New Bedford, as a matter of fact. And Kresge's at the time was being, and they opened up within a mile of every one of our stores, and we were losing business. And so the company was called Arlen's Department Stores. Are you familiar with Arlen's, Dick? They were based in New Bedford.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. They were like a small brand. Anyway, so the data processing department decided to unionize, and we had a meeting at my manager's house, the VP's house in the New Bedford. And I went there, and a bunch of people, and they were talking about unions, and I raised my hand, and I said, "Hey, listen, I respect you guys who want to unionize." I said, "But I want you to know that I will not join the union, and I will cross the picket line to go do my job." And I thought people would say, "Okay, Frank, we love you. You're a good guy."
Oh, yeah.
The union representative was there, and he said, "Frank," he says, I remember his exact words. I didn't even know where he was sitting in the guy's living room. He said, I respect what you told us, and I respect your ability and your right to do it. Congratulations." And he says, "However, if you do that, we will stop the trucks from delivering to Arnold's." He said, "And if I stop those trucks," and he said, "I wouldn't. So I will stop those trucks. They will not get paid. If they don't get paid, they can't feed their families." He said, "Please, this is not a threat." He said, "But bones have been broken."
Oh, my God.
Wow. And I got up and walked out. The next day, I had to park my car maybe 3 miles away because they knew what kind of car I drive. And me and the other VPs from other departments got a rented car, and we drove. And I remember I did cross the picket line. And we had key punch operators. Maybe you used to do the key punch at the time. Key punch operators who were like my grandmother, because I was 72. I'm a kid, right? You wouldn't believe the 4-letter words they threw at me. 3 grandmothers, because I was crossing the Union line. Anyway, so from that day forward, I said, no way.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was 1972. Oh my God, 44 years ago.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, anyway, so that's my story.
Alrighty.
On a high note, huh? Alrighty. Sorry about that.
That's okay. And Dick, you don't have an entrepreneurial thing because you have company. So
yeah, I have my family from Connecticut, and I've been exiled to my bedroom.
That's your secret.
What a wonderful thing.
With a laptop that's on life support.
I did find that that one drone killer. I'll share that. Hang on.
Mm.
You guys got my screen?
Yeah, got it.
There's not. I mean, this is a woman right here, officer, with a handheld, what appears to be a gun. Well, it's anticlimactic, but watch. Just like that.
Wow.
And what she do? What did she break? The signal?
Wi-Fi. Yeah. So,
jammed it.
Yeah. Should essentially they take over and either short out or kill the Wi-Fi chip. Wow. So it breaks the connection between the controller and the drone.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how the Iranians most likely took our big flying drone.
Yeah.
Down. You know, they just took it over.
Yeah.
Really?
It broke. You know, either took it over, jammed the signal, did something. Don't know, but that's how you do it.
Yeah.
All right. Now I want to share another thing. Let's see here. I want to go over here to my desktop, and I want to share. Do you see this Kickstarter up here?
Yes.
All right. So these guys in Kickstarter, this is the $13 million Kickstarter project for a cooler. Now, I didn't really go to see what this cooler does for sure, but here's the big deal. So they raised $13 million, which is what they asked for, right? They got the product in production, but then they put it up on Amazon for sale. And since they couldn't get anything out of production, they needed more money. They suggested for an extra $97 of expedited shipping, you can get the product quicker.
Oh my God.
Is that a bait switch or what?
Yeah.
And I don't know. You got to watch these things. But this is one of the baddest things that I saw on Kickstarter. This is what not to do for Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the next thing I want to share here. Let me get back. I'll stop this for a second. Let's set the pace here, Dick. I ran across the WhatsApp. And I did a lot of research into WhatsApp and the history and the original guys that started it and where they're at. And basically, they do in the Intel world. It's a one-time key inscription or one-time keypad, and it can't be broken because it's only used one time. So. And the user wants to type a text message to Dick, and I get my key, and I send my key along with the information to Dick, or somehow or another goes through the central computer, and they both get the same key. Okay, and it's only used once, but.
For over 400 years, the problem remained. How could Alice design a cipher that hides her fingerprint, thus stopping the leak of information? The answer is randomness. Imagine Alice rolled a 26-sided die to generate a long list of random shifts and shared this with Bob instead of a code word. Now, to encrypt her message, Alice uses the list of random shifts instead. It is important that this list of shifts be as long as the message as to avoid any repetition. Then she sends it to Bob, who decrypts the message using the same list of random shifts she had given him. Now Eve will have a problem, because the resulting encrypted message will have two powerful properties. 1. The shifts never fall into a repetitive pattern. And 2. The encrypted message will have a uniform frequency distribution. Because there is no frequency differential, and therefore no leak, it is now impossible for Eve to break the encryption. This is the strongest possible method of encryption, and it emerged towards the end of the 19th century. It is now known as the one-time pad. In order to visualize the strength of the one-time pad, we must understand the combinatorial explosion which takes place. For example, the Caesar cipher shifted every letter by the same shift, which was some number between 1 and 26. So if Alice was to encrypt her name, it would result in one of 26 possible encryptions. A small number of possibilities, easy to check them all, known as brute force search. Compare this to the one-time pad where each letter would be shifted by a different number between 1 and 26. Now think about the number of possible encryptions. It's going to be 26 multiplied by itself 5 times, which is almost 12 million. Sometimes it's hard to visualize. So imagine she wrote her name on a single page, and on top of it stacked every possible encryption. How high do you think this would be? With almost 12 million possible 5-letter sequences, this stack of paper would be enormous. Over 1 kilometer high. When Alice encrypts her name using the one-time pad, it is the same as picking one of these pages at random. From the perspective of Eve the codebreaker, every 5-letter encrypted word she has is equally likely to be any word in this stack. So this is perfect secrecy in action.
They're so clever at this. Once you have an account and they know who's in your group, each time you generate another text, it's given its own key again, and they keep going. But they could never do it for videos. Files, we can always do it for files or other PDF documents. Well, now they got the full suite of capability that they can't even break their own encryption, right? So now here you have a phone, and it works on all major phones, all major platforms. Basically,
WhatsApp is a simple way to connect with friends and family anywhere in the world. Start a chat with anyone in your contacts list. You can share an unlimited number of texts, images, voice notes, short videos, and even your location. All you need is Wi-Fi or mobile data service. Because you're using data, you won't be charged for texts. Let's say Anna has a special friend in Istanbul. She sends him a quick text saying she misses him. He hits her back with this photo. She replies with a quick video. Aw, this is starting to look like more than just a friendship. Group chat is also easy with WhatsApp. Quickly set up groups of folks and fire up a conversation. WhatsApp works on tons of phones, so you can chat with just about anyone, no matter what's in their pocket. The app is free for a year, and it costs just 99 cents a year after that. And by the way, WhatsApp doesn't have ads, because that stuff is just annoying. Check it out at whatsapp.com.
when I was in the Intel world, we used to have to do what they call STU communications or secure telephone units, STUs. And you go into a classified room, you know, it's copper clad and or screened. It's an RFI proof room, and you get on the line, and your group operator calls another group operator, and they hear a bunch of binging boom boom boom, you know, and then you're connected. And the bandwidth wasn't very good in those days, so it kind of sounds like Skype when Skype isn't working too well. But and then so secure communications, there's a lot of technology and money on that. Now it's in our handheld devices by this one company. Now, Dick, you use WhatsApp. Continue talk about how you use it.
Sure. As I mentioned, you know, my family's off from Connecticut. I have two granddaughters, and my daughter and her husband are here. And my oldest granddaughter went over to Barcelona College for a semester this January. She's there for 3 or 4 months. So just to go back a little bit, a few times I traveled to golf for Scotland and Ireland, I used to have to either buy a special phone or pay ridiculous rates for calls and texts and all. So I said to her before she's going, I said, well, how are we going to be able to, keep in touch? And she said, just download WhatsApp. And I said, WhatsApp? What is that?
WhatsApp?
Yeah. And she said, we'll be able to talk and do all sorts of things, on it. So my wife and I both downloaded WhatsApp. We got into her contact list and all. And we texted, 3 or 4 times a week we text, where she's going. She did a lot of traveling. Then all of a sudden she's sending pictures, and then a short video, and then all of a sudden she sends a text, says, "Are you guys going to be around an hour? Let's do a FaceTime." So we started FaceTiming with each other, and this is all for nothing. There was no charge, no extra transmission charge, text charge, picture, nothing. So it was quite a revelation for me. And, she's back. She came back. She went into Boston Friday night and then went to New York Kennedy Saturday morning to fly out here. So she's, still catching up with herself. But I think we'll probably still use it. It's very convenient. The picture qualities are good. And the whole thing was a very pleasant surprise. So I think it's
all encrypted.
Well, we didn't know that. My wife and I both got messages from WhatsApp. I think it was last week, maybe the week before, telling us that all of our communications are going to be encrypted from here on out.
Right.
So they just made everything. Now I have very, very mixed feelings on this. In fact, I don't know if they're mixed. I have a feeling that I don't like that. I don't need encrypted transmissions from my granddaughter. But I just see the terrorist network just jumping all over that, and that's their way of communicating. So I'm not a big fan of that encrypted for everyday people, type of a thing.
Yeah, and this was this is what I wanted just to bring up for us to discuss. Now here, here's the next thing. Move this down the bottom. So just this last week, a California state legislature introduced a bill that would ban the retail of smartphones with a full disk encryption feature.
I haven't seen that.
Yes, and a security measure designed to ensure that no one can decrypt and read your phone contents except you. The government came out to say the same thing in England. So to ban civilians from being able to do this. So, this brings in the Big Brother, Big Brother's watching and all that other kind of stuff. But, it's a privacy argument. So, you guys,
there's where my mixed emotions come in. I don't think they should ban me from getting a phone that's encrypted. I don't think they should. So it's a really, both sides of the coin type of a deal. I don't think the government should be doing that.
And I also read that the FBI found nothing out after they hacked the phone.
Is that right?
Nothing.
Mm-hmm. Here they paid hackers to do it.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And that's the white side. We should talk about that. The white hat side of hacking is that
their intellectual powers are often used for evil, but there is a whole world of hackers out there using their skills for good. Here's online and interactive reporter Teresa Lalonde.
In the movies, hacking looks easy. A few keystrokes and the secrets are out. In real life, computer security experts spend countless hours learning all they can about the systems we use.
They don't wear white hats or capes, but they are cyber heroes. These are the hacking elite, finding new ways to keep your laptop and your mobile phone safe.
White hats would be considered the security researchers who work on the defensive side, or who responsibly disclose vulnerabilities, which means you find a way to hack into someone's computer, and instead of using it, you report it to Microsoft and you say, please patch this. I'm not going to tell anyone until you're done.
This week, 500 security researchers from all over the world are here in Vancouver for a conference. And there's a contest called Pwn to Own. Pwn is a video gaming term meaning to conquer. Its aim is to see who can find the most holes in today's popular systems and mobile phones.
This contest attempts to show to vendors, to the public, to pretty much the community at large that pretty much exactly how unsafe they really are.
The winner gets $100,000. They also get the laptop and the phone they hacked. But the real winner? All of us. All the holes in this software are reported to the companies, so they can be patched up. Hopefully before hackers who have gone to the dark side and want to collect your private information or infect you with a virus can get in. Teresa Lalonde, CBC News, Vancouver.
Google will pay you to hack them and show you how you do it, and you get a fee for that.
Yeah.
So it turns all these young kids, instead of doing it for a bad purpose, is these companies will pay them $100,000, $200,000, dollars to hack these things, and if they can do it, then they show them the fix and they get paid.
Yeah.
And nobody else gets to see it, which is really kind of good quality control on the big company side.
It's very good. Yeah. It's just as part of the bigger discussion of this world that we're living in now, your right to privacy, to the need for protection. It's such a delicate balance. I don't have the answer, to be honest with you.
I would like to see them to make some technology to encrypt medical files.
Yeah.
Between the terminal and the mainframe.
Yeah.
And hackers couldn't do anything with that. They couldn't get any of that data.
Yeah.
So I don't know the mechanism that they did that, so I might be talking out of the left corner of my mouth. But Frank, how do you feel about this privacy thing?
I'm torn. I want privacy, but I also want security. And I think where I am right now, obviously subject to change because I'm very wishy-washy. You can have all the privacy you want until some judge says, for security purposes, I got to get into your phone and then let them get into my phone, because I'd rather be not as private and alive than very private and dead.
Yeah, well, the technology right now, even with the subpoena, the company that has made these platforms couldn't even de-encrypt it. There's no way.
Which company? You mean Apple?
WhatsApp.
Oh, WhatsApp. Okay. Yeah, WhatsApp. Now, who owns WhatsApp?
There's 4 owners, I think.
Oh, there is? Okay.
Yeah, one came out of Yahoo, I think. They were very beginners in Yahoo, and one guy's a Russian. And he's kind of the guy, they were all sitting around a coffee table once and said, hey, let's do this. And off they went. And just like many other entrepreneurial things,
I love it. I love those stories.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. But, in Dick's case, the WhatsApp allows you to communicate around the world for essentially free. Skype doesn't do that.
Yeah.
And when you go take our phones over to Europe, they're non-compatible. So by using these apps.
Well, what we're using right now goes around the world at no charge.
You guys, what?
Zoom.
Oh, Zoom? Yeah, maybe.
Again, I'm on. I'll be on at 7:30 tonight in Australia for free.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right. But it's not encrypted.
No. You're right. You're right. It's not encrypted. Correct. That's a big difference. Yes.
Yeah, but this is a business thing. So, but there's a lot of business espionage as well. So maybe they should look at doing a little bit of encryption. But there you go, guys. Well,
all right.
Anything else?
No, I'll be ready next week.
All right. Well, we'll see how your visitors do. All right. I'll stop the podcast.